Hey, so you want to go work for a large corporation as a software developer. Does it make sense to do so? Like anything else in life, there are pros and cons to working for a large business. Now, the pros are you get in, you have an infrastructure in place, you have your job well defined, you know what you got to do, you know you're going to get paid every 2 weeks no matter what. Those are big advantages. The disadvantage, and I think the biggest disadvantage, and that will build up over time for most people, is that you have to deal with the corporate culture. Some people will take to that like a fish to water. Fantastic. You get along with the corporate culture. Other people, and a lot of people, might have a problem with that. But they stay because the pay is good, the risk is low, meaning you're going to get paid. Chances are you're going to keep your job as long as you're not a total jerk, and as long as you're reasonably competent at what you do. The one advantage of being a software developer is that you are amongst the elite in any business. Software developers are hard to find good ones, so if you become a good software developer, following the principles and the techniques that I teach, then chances are you're going to be in a very good position in any business. They're not going to want to let you go, because you're going to be a valuable asset to them. You throw in some good communication skills, good interpersonal dynamics between you and your coworkers and the people on top and the bottom, you're going to be fantastic. You're going to do well. But you have to deal with those inter-office politics, and you're going to be very detached from the day-to-day of the main business, really. You're going to be in your silo. You're going to be working on this system here, and that's it. You may move to another system. So if you're into the big picture, you're into understanding the business end of it, you will not get there, at least for a little while, if not forever. That being said, being a freelance developer or web professional or starting your own business has its own disadvantages and tremendous advantages over working for somebody. I think what it comes down to is that when you work for a large corporation as a developer, the advantages are really accrued in the short term. You get in there, you have these immediate advantages of stability, structure, infrastructure. You just can launch right into that. You just have to adapt to the culture within the organization. Your bigger challenge is not going to be technical, it's going to be social. Whereas freelancing and building your own business, the advantages come in the medium and the long term. There's so many advantages in terms of lifestyle as a freelancer, so many advantages in terms of how much you're going to make as a freelancer. Freelancers, once you establish your business, which you can do within a year, and within 2-3 years, you will be making more than the typical employee who's working for another company. Just because of tax advantages. You're going to have much more freedom in terms of how you allocate your time, when you work, how you work, with whom you work. You have all this freedom as a freelancer or as a business owner, whereas when you work for somebody, this is not your choice. For the most part. Maybe once you gain some seniority, you're going to have some wiggle room there, but not nearly as much as a freelancer. So that's the trade-off. So working for a large business, I have some friends who've done really well there. They weren't super happy, but they were content enough to stick to those jobs, consistent, high pay, because you become a web developer, or a developer rather, any type of developer, you're going to make more than the average person easily. Now, how much more? In North America, it could be 2-3 times the average person. So you have that advantage. Whereas other people I know, they just couldn't stand working in the corporate infrastructure. They couldn't stand it. They couldn't stand the office politics and the culture that they had to bend to. And every day was a slow, painful task for them. But they got their paycheck every 2 weeks. If you're thinking about starting a small business, getting into freelancing, do it when you're younger if possible, or do it when you have no responsibilities so that you can make your mistakes early on and not have to worry about it. If you're older, you want to get into freelancing, that's cool too. Just follow what I teach and you'll be fine. But you have to transition from working in a large business, slowly moving more into freelancing over time. The big mistake that people make is to stop code on one thing that's making them money and then starting up the new thing. There's always a lag time, a startup time to ramp up a new endeavor, right? That's just the way it goes. So there you have it. There are some pros to working for large businesses, but there's also some cons. It's largely a personal taste. If you want to eventually get into business, should you work for a corporation first? Maybe for a year or two, but problem is when you go work for a corporation, even if your intention is to leave after a year or two, a lot of people get just caught up in it because you start making good money. You start going, hey, I'm making a lot of money. Maybe I could buy a car. Maybe I could buy a house. I can party more, whatever it is. And then they get caught in this, and all of a sudden 1 year becomes 2 years, becomes 10 years, becomes 25 years. And next thing you know, no chance for business. So just keep that in mind. I'm just giving you choices here. Nothing is all good. Nothing is all bad. A lot of it has to do with personal choices. That being said, I am extremely biased towards small business ownership, owning businesses, starting businesses. Why? Because the last time I had a job, I was 18 years old and I was a bouncer in a nightclub, and that's it. So it's been 150 years since I've worked for anybody.